I'm now joined by Calum Davidson, who is the director of the Highlands and Islands Enterprise in Scotland, of course, one of the great bases for kinetic wave power. Welcome to the broadcast.
Thanks very much.
I understand great things are happening up there in the north of the British Isles.
Yeah, the Highlands and Islands of Scotland have really been at the forefront of marine kinetic electricity generation probably for about the past 15 to 20 years. And this year, 2013, is an important milestone because it's the 10th anniversary of EMEC, the European Marine Energy Centre, which is still the world's only fully grid-connected wave and tidal test centre. And that's where most of the world's wave and tidal energy devices have been tested and have been generating electricity on the grid for a good number of years.
How much electricity are you
Well, it
generating?
kind of varies, but we're looking at devices, some of the wave devices, the Polamis device, which was one of the first to be invented and first tested in 2004. It's sitting at 800 kilowatts, and currently there's a Norwegian design done by Anders Hammerfest, which is at 1.5 megawatts.
How many companies are involved?
Currently in Orkney at the moment, there are probably about 12 to 15 different companies testing. But crucially from our side, around about that, you've probably got another 40 or 50 companies as part of the supply chain. Small companies doing vessels, consultancy companies, specialist electrical companies, marine service companies, and people fabricating, building these devices as well.
How many are generating?
Well, currently, they're going through the testing phase. At the moment, there's about a dozen devices in the water generating. Now, they're going through a testing regime, so they're not generating all the time, because they're being tested at different wave states or tidal states. But certainly, over this winter, we've had 3 or 4 major, large-scale tidal devices that have survived the winter, and a number of other wave devices that have been on long-term testing.
The UK government in London has turned somewhat against alternative energy. Maybe they overinvested or were too enthusiastic about some things. Yeah. Wind comes to mind. This has not affected wave power.
No, I mean, Scotland and the Scottish Parliament sees renewable energy and wave and tidal as a critical role part of the Scottish, effectively the reindustrialisation of Scotland. Scotland has the world's most ambitious targets for electricity generation through renewables. By 2020, we're talking about 100% of Scotland's electricity demand being met by renewable electricity.
That is extraordinary, 100% by 2020?
Currently we're at 40%. But this is not a government target. Very importantly, this is an industry target. So the industry has set itself this target, and it's been enthusiastic.
How much of that will be wave power, and how much will be wind?
Currently, within Scotland, we've probably got about 1.5 gigawatts of hydro, 1.5 of onshore wind. There's probably going to be about 4 gigawatts of offshore wind by 2020, and the plan is about just under 1 gigawatt of wave and tidal. Whether that's going to happen in 2020 or 2022, we don't quite know yet. But that's certainly the target, and that's where we're working towards.
We haven't narrowed down the number of devices. There are many ideas.
Right. Yes,
there are more ideas for how to do wave power or even river power than there are for any other way of generating electricity. Are there clear leaders?
Well, we've got some leaders in the first generation wave. I think we've got to separate wave and tidal power. Tidal power in one sense is a little bit easier because all you're doing is taking like a large onshore turbine and turning it into a system that can be done under the water. Now that means smaller blades, it means different mechanisms, but the internal drivetrains are very similar. The real trick is how do you convert wave power into electricity. And market leaders are Polamis, which was invented by the University of Edinburgh. That's a sea snake, so that it's just it flexes and gets hydraulic power. There's a really weird Finnish device called a penguin, which is, like me, you'll be old enough to remember self-winding watches.
Yes.
So this is basically, they've built the world's most unstable boat. So that it just rolls on the slightest wave, and inside that there's a huge, effectively self-winding watch. So any slight movement just converts that into circular energy, and it generates about 1 megawatt of electricity as well.
That's a substantial amount.
Substantial amount. And then you've got nearshore devices, the Edinburgh-based company, which is Aquamarine, which is with oyster clam, which pumps water ashore. And there's a Bahama-based company with its doing a similar thing with a number of devices. So,
where we are in Washington, mid-Atlantic area. The tidal rise is quite small.
Yes.
It's 18 inches a foot, something like that. It's not huge, but up in Scotland it's gigantic.
It is, yeah, and certainly in one particular...
It can be, what, 12 feet?
Oh yes,
More?
yeah, I mean quite easily. But it's not so much the tidal range, it's the tidal speed that's important. In the Pentland Firth, which is that bit of water between Orkney and Scotland, you could be getting significant, huge amounts of water moving very, very quickly. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 knots in some cases. And that is, we're talking about very, very aggressive, very dynamic water regimes. And that's why it's the jewel in the crown of the European tidal industry. And that's why the First Minister has described that part of Scotland as the Saudi Arabia of tidal energy.
The First Minister is Salmon.
Alex Salmon, yes.
Alex Salmon, I've met him. It's a great pleasure to talk to you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very
very much.